Libra, let me ask you something. Have you noticed that you stopped explaining yourself lately? You didn't fight louder, you didn't beg, you didn't bend, you just stood still and held your ground. And somehow, everything around you started to feel tense, like the universe noticed. Libra, this isn't stubbornness. This is you finally protecting your energy. This is you saying no to what felt wrong, even when it cost you comfort. If you're here right now, there's a reason. Because the moment you refused to fold, something began to turn. Slowly, quietly, powerfully. Stay with me. Trust yourself. And if this already feels personal, let me know in the comments. Because what's unfolding next is bigger than you think. All right, stay right here with me. I want you to imagine something for a moment. Not a prediction, not a warning, just a quiet truth. There was a point recently when you felt it in your body, that tightening in your chest, that moment when your shoulders pulled back instead of collapsing. You didn't announce it, you didn't explain it to anyone, but inside, something in you said, this is as far as it goes. And that moment matters more than you realize. Because for you, Libra, this season wasn't about choosing sides or proving a point. It was about boundaries, the invisible kind, the ones no one claps for, the ones that cost you peace before they give it back. You've been tested there, in quiet conversations, in familiar dynamics that suddenly felt heavy, in situations where staying polite would have meant betraying yourself, and you felt the pressure, the subtle push to soften your truth, to make it easier for everyone else, to bend just a little more. But you didn't. You stood there, calm on the outside, steady, even when it made you look distant. Even when someone mistook your clarity for coldness, what they didn't see was the work happening inside you, the strength it took to stay aligned, the way you protected your energy without raising your voice. This wasn't resistance. This was self-respect, finally speaking louder than fear. And here's the part that doesn't get talked about enough. When someone like you stops bending, the world doesn't explode. It pauses, things slow down, people reveal themselves. Situations begin to shift in subtle ways. You may have noticed it already. A strange stillness. Moments where nothing seems to move, yet everything feels charged. That's not stagnation, that's recalibration. Life has been adjusting around the version of you that no longer negotiates your worth. And I know it hasn't been easy. There were nights you questioned yourself. Moments you wondered if holding your ground would cost you something important. Connection, opportunity, love. But what you were really doing was drawing a line the universe could finally see. Because when you don't bend for what feels wrong, you create space for what is right to find. You, quietly, naturally, without force. That's why things are starting to feel different now, why certain tensions are easing, why situations that once drained you are losing their grip. This isn't coincidence, it's consequence. The kind that comes when integrity becomes non-negotiable. And as we move forward together, I want you to stay in this awareness, not tense, not guarded, just rooted. There is more unfolding here than meets the eye, more light coming in through the cracks you refuse to ignore. So, take a breath, let your shoulders drop, stay open but not exposed, because the strength you showed by not bending is the very thing guiding what comes next. And what comes next doesn't ask you to shrink. It meets you where you stand. Stay with me, right here. Because once you stopped bending, something else quietly took its place. A different kind of strength. Not loud, not sharp, but steady, unmovable. You may not even have had a word for it at first. It didn't arrive as anger. It didn't feel like rebellion. It felt like a calm line being drawn inside your chest. And that is what defiant energy looks like when it matures. For you, Libra, this wasn't about pushing people away. It was about finally pulling yourself back in. You started noticing how your body reacted around certain situations, how your breath changed, how your energy tightened when something felt off, even if it looked fine on the surface. And instead of questioning yourself like you used to, you listened. You stopped explaining why something didn't sit right. You stopped translating your truth into softer words to keep the peace. You let silence do the talking. That is protection, not walls, not armor, but awareness. There's a difference. You didn't become cold. You became clear, and clarity has a way of making manipulation uncomfortable. It has a way of dissolving ambiguity without confrontation. It doesn't argue. It simply refuses to participate. That's what changed. You no longer let mixed signals linger. You no longer entertained half-truths disguised as charm. You felt the pull to overgive, to over-understand, to smooth things over. And for the first time, you didn't follow it. You chose yourself quietly, again and again. This isn't resistance. This is respect. The kind that starts internally before the world ever notices. And here's something important I want you to hear. When you protect your energy like this, life listens. Not in dramatic ways, not with thunder or instant rewards, but with subtle shifts. People either rise to meet you or slowly fall away without explanation. Situations that once drained you lose their hold. The constant emotional noise begins to fade. You may have felt moments of loneliness in this space, a strange quiet where old patterns used to live. That doesn't mean you did something wrong. It means you created room for honesty, room for alignment, room for something real to finally enter. The universe responds to this kind of self-respect differently. It doesn't rush in, it observes, and what it sees is someone who knows their worth without needing to prove it. Someone who doesn't demand fairness, but embodies it. That's why things feel charged right now. Not chaotic, charged, like the air before a storm that doesn't destroy but clears. You are not pushing life away. You are inviting it to meet you properly. And as you stay in this grounded place, as you honor your instincts without apology, something begins to reorganize around you. Not everything at once, but enough for you to feel it, a sense that you are no longer bracing, no longer on defense, just present, rooted. Hold that feeling. Because the strength you've been building quietly is about to be reflected back to you in ways you didn't expect. And as the noise continues to fall away, you'll start to notice what remains, what stays, what approaches without confusion, what feels steady instead of draining. That's where we're heading next. Stay close for a moment. I want to speak to you softly here, because this part of the story does not arrive with noise. It arrives like balance returning to a scale that was tilted for far too long. You may not have called it karma, you may have just felt it as exhaustion, that deep, quiet tiredness that comes from carrying things you never caused. Situations where you stayed fair, but fairness was not returned. Moments where the truth was bent, hidden, or left hanging in the air while you were expected to stay graceful. And you did, for a long time. But something has been shifting beneath the surface, not because you demanded it, not because you chased answers, but because you stopped carrying what was never yours to fix. That is when karma begins to move, not as punishment, not as revenge, but as correction. Life has a way of noticing when someone keeps their integrity intact under pressure, when they choose decency even when no one is watching, when they walk away quietly instead of making noise to prove they were wronged. You did that, and now, without announcement, the weight is redistributing. You may start to see small things fall into place. A conversation that suddenly makes sense, a situation that resolves itself without you intervening, someone revealing their true intentions without being asked. These are not accidents, they are adjustments. The universe does not rush this process. It is careful, precise, almost tender in the way it restores balance. What was hidden begins to surface. What was unfair begins to lose its power, not because you exposed it, but because it can no longer exist in your presence. And that matters. Because karma does not respond to anger, it responds to alignment. You aligned with yourself, with your values, with the quiet knowing that told you to step back instead of stepping down. So now the scales begin to move on their own. You might feel relief mixed with disbelief, a strange calm where resentment used to live. You may even question if things are really being made right. They are, just not in the way movies show it. There is no dramatic apology, no public recognition of what you endured. Instead, there is peace where tension once lived, clarity where confusion used to linger, a sense that you no longer need to prove anything to anyone. That is justice too, the most powerful kind. And listen closely to this. You do not need to chase closure. You do not need to reopen old doors. You do not need to explain your side one last time. Life is doing that work for you now, quietly, efficiently, in ways that protect your dignity. What was misaligned is being corrected. What was taken is being returned in another form, sometimes through opportunity, sometimes through relief, sometimes through the simple absence of what once drained you. And as this balance restores itself, you may notice a new feeling settling in. Not excitement yet, not celebration, readiness, a sense that something ahead will meet you differently than the past did. With honesty, with respect, with a steadiness you no longer have to fight for. Stay open to that feeling, let it guide you forward, because once karma finishes correcting what was behind you, it clears the path for what is meant to arrive next. And that next chapter does not come to test you. It comes to meet you where you finally stand. Stay right here with me. Take a slow breath. Because what I want to talk to you about now is something you don't force, something you don't rush, something you cannot miss even if you tried. Timing. You've felt it, haven't you? That subtle shift in the air, like the world didn't suddenly change, but it finally stopped resisting you. There's a reason for that. This moment in your life wasn't random. It wasn't delayed. It wasn't early either. It was calculated in a way only life knows how to do. You may look back and realize how many times you thought, why now? Why not sooner? Why did I have to wait through all of that? But Libra, the truth is gentler than frustration. You were becoming someone who could hold what's coming, not just receive it, hold it. The clarity you have now, the calm you carry differently, the way you no longer chase answers the way you used to. That didn't happen overnight. It couldn't have. Divine timing isn't about the clock, it's about readiness. And readiness shows up quietly. You start noticing small signs, nothing dramatic, just patterns lining up, messages arriving at the right moment, people crossing your path when your guard is finally down. You feel it in your body first, a sense of ease, like you're no longer swimming against the current. That's not coincidence, that's alignment. Life moves differently when you stop trying to control the outcome and start trusting your inner balance again. You've done a lot of inner work without calling it that. You learned when to pause, when to step back, when to let silence speak for you. And now, because of that, things begin to move. Not all at once, but deliberately. Situations that were stuck begin to loosen. Conversations that felt impossible start opening on their own. Decisions no longer feel heavy, just honest. You may feel lighter emotionally, not euphoric, just steady. That's important. Because divine timing doesn't overwhelm you, it supports you. It arrives when your nervous system can rest, when your heart is open but not exposed, when your mind no longer needs constant reassurance. This is a natural progression, like dawn replacing night without making a sound. You don't need to announce this shift. You don't need to explain it to anyone. You'll simply notice that you trust yourself again. Your intuition feels clearer. Your reactions feel calmer. Your inner light doesn't flicker as easily. That's the signal. You're no longer waiting for life to begin. You're already inside it. And from here, the path forward doesn't feel forced. It feels guided. Each step makes sense after you take it. Each choice feels less like a risk and more like recognition. This is where momentum returns, not rushed, not chaotic, intentional. You're being led into a phase where effort meets flow, where what you give and what you receive start to balance naturally. So, don't rush ahead in your mind. Stay present, stay grounded. There is more unfolding, but it doesn't need your anxiety to arrive. It only needs your trust. And as this timing continues to reveal itself, you'll notice something else beginning to form quietly on the horizon. An opening, an invitation, a moment that asks you to consider what comes next, not with urgency, with clarity. And when that moment arrives, you'll understand why it couldn't have happened any sooner. Because now you're ready to meet it fully. Stay with me. You do not need to lean forward for this part. Let it come to you. Because after timing settles, after the noise quiets, something begins to approach without announcing itself. You might feel it first as a pause, a soft interruption in your routine, a moment where life seems to ask you to look up. Not urgently, not dramatically, just gently. This is where an offer appears, not rushed, not forced, but meaningful enough that you feel it before you understand it. For you, Libra, this is not about temptation. It is about recognition. Someone sees you, or something finally aligns with who you have become. Not who you used to be when you were still bending to fit. And that matters. Because this offer does not arrive to rescue you. It arrives to meet you as an equal. You may notice how different it feels. There is no pressure in the voice behind it, no countdown, no emotional leverage, just space. Space to consider, space to breathe, space to ask yourself real questions without fear of losing. The opportunity. that alone tells you something important. This is not a fleeting moment. This is not a test designed to rush you back into old patterns. This is serious energy. Whether it shows up as a connection, a conversation that lingers, a proposal, a collaboration, or a commitment that asks for your presence in a new way, it carries weight, not heavy weight, grounded weight, the kind that asks you to think long-term, the kind that touches multiple areas of your life at once. And you do not have to answer it immediately. In fact, you are not meant to. You are being respected here. Your timing, your process, your need to feel aligned before you move. You may find yourself rearranging things in your mind, imagining how this could fit, not forcing it, just seeing where it naturally belongs. That is wisdom, not hesitation. You have learned the difference. Before, you might have said yes too quickly to avoid discomfort, or said no too fast to protect yourself. This time is different. You are allowed to sit with the question. And here is the quiet truth beneath it all. An offer that gives you time is an offer that plans to stay. It does not need urgency to secure you. It trusts your discernment. That is rare, and it mirrors the respect you have finally learned to give yourself. So, if part of you feels both curious and calm, if your heart opens without racing, if your intuition feels steady instead of alarmed, pay attention. This is not about choosing correctly. It is about choosing honestly. You are no longer being asked to prove your worth by sacrificing your comfort. You are being invited to consider what growth looks like when it does not cost your peace. Let yourself explore that, gently, without pressure, without fear of missing out, because nothing meant for you will rush past you. And as you hold this possibility in your awareness, you may notice something else rising quietly beneath it. A deeper question, not about the offer itself, but about the version of you who would accept it. And when you begin to listen to that question, you will feel the story shifting again. Not forward yet, but inward. That is where the next turn waits for you. Stay with me a little longer. This part asks for your honesty. Not the kind you explain out loud, the kind you feel in your chest when the room goes quiet. Because when something carries the potential to stay, it naturally brings you to a crossroads, not a dramatic one, a quiet intersection inside you. You can feel it when the noise fades. Two paths, neither rushed, neither wrong. Just different versions of your future standing side by side. And here is where you pause. Not because you are afraid, but because you finally understand the weight of choosing well. You start asking yourself questions you never used to ask. Not what will make others comfortable, not what looks right on the surface, but what feels aligned with who you are now. Does this honor my values? Does this support the life I am building? Does this version of me feel expanded or constrained? These questions do not come from doubt. They come from growth. In the past, you may have moved quickly just to keep things moving. Said yes before your heart was ready. Said no before allowing possibility to breathe. That was survival. This is discernment. You are standing at a place where your inner world has caught up with your outer one, where your boundaries are clear enough to guide your decisions instead of limiting them. And that changes everything. This crossroads does not demand an answer today. It asks for presence. It invites you to imagine your life not as a series of reactions, but as a structure you are consciously shaping. You may notice yourself reflecting more than usual, not spiraling, just seeing how far you have come, seeing what no longer fits, seeing what could grow if given the right conditions. This is what maturity feels like, not heavy, grounded. And there is a subtle power in that. Because when you choose from this place, you are no longer choosing out of fear of loss. You are choosing from self-trust. That trust did not come easily. It was built through moments where you stood alone, through decisions no one applauded, through the courage it took to say, "This matters to me," even when others did not understand. So, now as you stand here, you are not deciding your fate. You are defining your standards. That distinction matters. A decision made from pressure reshapes your life around obligation. A decision made from clarity reshapes your life around integrity. And integrity creates stability, the kind that lasts. You may feel the weight of this choice, but it is not the weight of burden. It is the weight of significance. This decision touches more than one area of your life. It influences how you spend your time, who has access to you, what kind of future you wake up to each morning. And you are ready for that responsibility now. Not because you have all the answers, but because you trust yourself to navigate whatever unfolds. Take your time here. Let the silence speak. Let your intuition surface without interruption, because the right path will not shout. It will feel steady, quietly affirming. And as you stand at this crossroads, something else begins to form alongside your decision. A connection, a presence, a feeling of alignment that does not require explanation. It approaches not to sway you, but to walk with you once you choose. And when you notice that energy, you will understand that this moment was never about choosing alone. It was about choosing in alignment with what is ready to meet you next. Stay with me. Let this part arrive slowly, because after the decision settles inside you, after you feel that quiet yes or no forming without pressure, something else begins to reveal itself. Not loudly, not all at once. It feels more like recognition. You may notice it in the way a conversation lingers longer than expected, in how silence with someone feels comfortable instead of awkward, in the sense that you do not need to explain who you are because they already seem to understand the language you speak without words. This is how a soul connection forms, not through intensity, through ease. You did not plan it this way. It does not follow the timeline you once imagined, and that is exactly why it feels real. For you, Libra, this connection does not arrive to disrupt your life. It arrives to fit into it naturally, as if it was always meant to be here, just waiting for the version of you that could receive it without doubt. There is no chase here, no emotional pull and release, no need to prove interest or value. It feels steady, grounded, honest. And that may surprise you more than anything else. Because you have known chemistry, you have known attraction, you have known intensity that burns fast and fades. This is different. This feels like presence, like someone who stays in the room when things get quiet, someone who listens not to respond but to understand. You may sense it as a calm warmth, a familiarity without history, a feeling that does not rush ahead of itself. This connection does not demand you change. It does not ask you to bend. It does not test your boundaries. It respects them. And that is how you know it is serious, whether this shows up as romantic energy or as a partnership, or as someone who walks beside you in a way that feels deeply aligned. The intention behind it is the same. They are not here to play with potential. They are here to build. They see who you are becoming, not who you were when you were still learning to protect your energy, not who you were when you doubted your instincts. They meet you where you stand now, and you may notice something else. You do not feel the urge to rush this either. There is patience here, mutual patience, a shared understanding that what is real does not need to hurry. It unfolds. You are allowed to let this connection breathe, to observe how it feels over time, to trust that if it is meant to deepen, it will do so without force. This is not about losing yourself in someone else. It is about recognizing yourself more clearly through the reflection they offer. And that reflection feels honest, clean, undistorted. You may feel moments of vulnerability arise, not fear-based, just openness. Let that happen. You have done enough guarding. You know how to step back if needed. This time, you are not being asked to protect yourself from harm. You are being invited to experience alignment. And alignment feels calm. As this connection continues to take shape, you may notice your world responding again. Your choices feel supported. Your path feels clearer. Your energy feels shared, not drained. This is not coincidence. It is continuation, a natural extension of everything you have already walked through. And as you hold space for this connection, as you allow it to reveal itself without expectation, something else begins to rise quietly in the background, a sense of stability, a glimpse of what life looks like when things finally fall into place, not perfectly, but truthfully. And as that feeling settles, you will realize that this story is nearing a turning point, one where what you stood for, what you protected, and what you chose begins to return to you in a form that feels whole. And that is where the final shift begins. Stay with me for this final stretch, not because something dramatic is about to happen, but because this is the moment where everything you have lived through quietly begins to make sense. You didn't bend, and you didn't do it to be strong. You did it because something inside you refused to disappear any longer. You chose honesty over harmony when harmony asked you to shrink. You chose alignment over approval when approval came with conditions. And even when it felt lonely, even when it felt like you were standing still while others moved on, you stayed true. That choice matters more than you know, because life responds differently to someone who does not betray themselves. You may already feel it, not as fireworks, but as relief. There is less tension in your body now, less need to explain your decisions, less fear that you are running out of time. Things are beginning to turn, not because you push them, but because you stopped resisting who you are. Opportunities start to appear in quieter ways. Conversations feel more grounded. People meet you with more respect, even if they do not say it out loud. And emotionally, something softens. Old wounds do not sting the way they used to. Memories lose their charge. You can look back without feeling pulled under. That is healing, not forgetting, but integrating. You are beginning to trust your emotional balance again. Your ability to weigh things fairly, to choose what feels right without guilt. And with that trust comes stability. Not instant abundance, not perfect certainty, but a sense of steadiness you can build on. You wake up knowing where you stand, you move through your day without constantly second-guessing yourself. You feel supported by your own decisions. That is the foundation of real growth. This is where a new cycle quietly begins, not marked by a date on the calendar, but by an internal shift. You are no longer in reaction mode. You are no longer bracing for impact. You are participating in your life again, present, aware, grounded. And the universe responds to that presence, not by giving you everything at once, but by meeting you halfway. Doors open where you are ready to walk through them. Connections deepen where trust has been earned. Paths reveal themselves when you are calm enough to see them. This is not luck, it is alignment. You stood firm when it mattered. You honored your values when it was inconvenient. You chose yourself without turning bitter. That is strength with grace. So, if you are listening to this and something inside you feels seen, take a moment, breathe. Let yourself acknowledge how far you have come. Not just what you survived, but who you became because you refused to bend. And as you step forward from here, do it without rushing, without forcing outcomes, without looking back to prove anything. Trust that what is meant to grow with you will keep pace. Trust that what belongs in your life will meet you with clarity, not confusion. And if this message found you at the right moment, stay connected. Share what resonated. Allow yourself to be part of this space. Because this chapter is not about fighting anymore. It is about standing steady and letting life move toward you. All right, Libra. Before you go, let me leave you with this. What you just heard was not meant to impress you. It was meant to remind you. You didn't get here by accident. You didn't survive this chapter by luck. You are here because you chose yourself when it mattered most. And that choice, it is still echoing. If something in this message felt uncomfortably accurate, if your chest tightened, if your mind went quiet for a second, that is not coincidence. That is alignment. Take a moment tonight. Sit with yourself. Notice how much stronger your inner balance feels now. Notice how you no longer need to rush or explain your worth. Trust that. If this message spoke to you, let me know in the comments. Not for me, for you. Sometimes naming what we feel is how it becomes real. And if you are walking this path with other Libras who are learning to stand steady without hardening, stay connected here. Like this video. Subscribe. This is a space for clarity, not noise. For healing, not pressure. The journey does not end here. This was only one turning point. There is another message forming already. Another layer. Another reminder waiting for you when the timing is right. Until then, walk gently. Stand firm, and above all, trust yourself, Libra.